All right, so welcome to episode 4. We got Gil in the house. We got a 3-man
So
episode today. We'll talk about some NBA and get into some NFL. We'll go over the NFC East today with the Giants, which Ryan's excited to talk about.
right.
All right, so here's the top NFL and NBA news. Ryan, you want to point out something you see there that you want to talk about?
I think we're going to start off with Blake Bortles signing with the Packers. There's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen to Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Bortles signing makes it clear that I do not think that Aaron Rodgers is going to play in a Packers uniform this year. If he's not going to play in a different uniform, I think he will sit out. What are your thoughts?
I disagree. I think he will play with the Packers. I think the Bortles signing is worst case situation, and they're thinking ahead. And as he's just like, I don't think Jordan Love is ready yet. I don't know how good Jordan Love is, but I think that's just worst case scenario. You got to throw Blake Bortles in there. But Rodgers is too old to sit out. I think he's smarter than that. I think if he sits out, I think he retires.
Yeah, I'll ask this for both of you.
MVP. He's still playing at an elite level.
Yeah,
If he
I don't
does
think he can
leave,
sit out.
if he does leave, where does he go? Because I've heard Broncos are a big team for that.
I don't see anyone else except the Broncos signing or not getting Aaron Rodgers.
All
Do
right.
the Saints have the money? I mean,
No, Saints are still in very deep cap. Like they are negative
Yeah.
115 million right now.
Well, they got rid of a lot, but
Taysom Hill.
I still think there's not enough. Yeah, and Taysom
They're
Hill.
still past the luxury cap, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, Monty Williams was voted Coach of the Year. I know we had this conversation, Ryan and I did last episode with Monty versus Tom Thibodeau.
Thibodeau
And
robbed.
yeah, I thought it was 50-50 on this. Ryan does not think it's 50-50. I think the record speaks to itself. The Suns had the second best in the NBA.
Record isn't everything. That's okay.
Well, we'll see come playoff time as well. So, and then today, the Hornets got just smoked by the Pacers. TJ McConnell and Sabonis had good games, and then the Wizards got Tatum put up 50. I mean, Tatum went ham on the Wizards, but Westbrook will have another chance against the Pacers. And then big news, I did not know this. Joe Burrow's on track to play week 1. This was a report on ESPN this morning. What do you guys? I mean, I don't know how to feel about this.
I assumed he was ready for week 1. So when I saw the news, I was like, oh, he's probably not in 100% health yet, and that kind of scares me.
Right.
I wouldn't push it if I were them. I don't see any reason why, if he's not 100% healthy, why he should play. I mean, the offensive line is still terrible.
Especially because they didn't pick Sewell.
Yeah. I mean,
I was livid. I was livid
on
on that one.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll talk about is Prescott is expected to be cleared by camp, which is pretty expected. So the NFC North will be at pretty much full strength. Ryan, you want to talk about some hockey?
Yes. So Stanley Cup playoffs have begun. It's nice having a semi-normal postseason this year. And just to start, Wild and Islanders took a 1-0 lead against the Golden Knights and Pittsburgh Penguins. But both the Knights and the Penguins retaliate today to tie up the series. I think that out of these two, the Wild have the best chance of an upset. Islanders, their goaltending situation not as strong as last year. I think the Penguins will beat them most likely in 6. Bad news for the rest of the NHL is how Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos are back fully in health and in the lineup for Tampa Bay. Steven Stamkos actually got a goal today as they beat the Florida Panthers. And if they can stay healthy the whole rest of the postseason, I think the Lightning will go back-to-back. Overtime madness, kind of reminiscent of the 2016 playoffs where there were over 25 overtime games. We already have 4 this year. Hopefully that keeps it up. More exciting for the fans. And then my final prediction this year is I have the Pittsburgh Penguins losing to the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup. And let's move on.
Wow.
Yeah, that is your hockey update.
Thank you for that. So the NFL schedule was fully released a few days ago, and we'll talk about some of the week 1 games here. I just wanted to highlight a few that stand out for me. The Cardinals at Titans, I think that's a great game. I know I'm biased for that, but for week 1 matchup, those are 2 very evenly matched teams that I think are on the borderline of playoffs. the Seahawks at Colts. Those are just two really good teams, division front runners maybe. And then one game that the last game I'll say that stood out is Chargers at Washington. I think Washington's defense is outstanding. Herbert in his second year. We'll see if he could take the Josh Allen, Kyler Murray leap. And how do you guys have any other games you want to highlight? I'll start with Gil. You go this time first.
I mean, I know I'm a Steelers fan, but the Steelers at the Bills. I mean, that's prime time Monday morning. I don't know if that's prime time, but that's Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. Great. I mean, I think they're the best.
Yeah.
But I think those are two like playoff teams. It's going to be a good game. I don't know. I think the Bills are going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I think most people expect it to be a blowout, but I think it'll be pretty close.
I think you guys are sleeping on the Bears-Rams game. You got most likely the debut for Fields, and then you got the dark horse MVP candidate, in my opinion, Matthew Stafford, playing for the Rams. Stafford's going to have a fantastic year. Rams are going to win the NFC West, and this is just week one of the Rams' journey to the Super Bowl this year. That's right. That's my early prediction. I have the Rams going far. I believe in them.
I'm on the opposite end of this. I think Stafford will be good, but I actually don't think there's that big of a leap. There is a little bit of a leap from Goff to Stafford, but I don't think Stafford in his first year with McVay is going to have one of those MVP breakout years, especially in that division.
What do you mean a breakout year? Stafford's been elite his entire career.
No, he's been elite, but I don't think he's going to be a breakaway MVP candidate, like a top 3 MVP candidate this year.
That's fair. I think he's a dark horse. He may not win it, but I think he's going to have a great year.
The only game you guys didn't mention that I want to also talk about is Browns at Chiefs. I mean, I remember watching that playoff game last year. I think what was that the game Chad Henne came in and ran for that first down at the end of the game.
Yep. Fourth down conversion after the 3rd and 15 run. That was crazy.
But that's going to be a major. If the Browns end up winning that game, that's going to be huge just to take early control of their season. Probably with a healthy OBJ back. So we'll see what happens there.
Quick question for Gil before we move on to the NFC East. But do you think that if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't perform well, it's his last year and you guys are going to have to start thinking of some rookie quarterbacks to draft?
I do. I think this is his last year no matter what. And it definitely should be, because he said at the end of last year, if the team wants me back, he'll come back. So I don't, I think he knows his time is up. I think the team knows this is the last run. But I like Dwayne Haskins. I mean, he was a first-round pick a couple of years ago, and I think he was put in a really bad situation. And I think you give him a year to develop under a new quarterback coach who's also now the offensive coordinator. Maybe he, finds a way to become more accurate. That was one of his issues, the accuracy. And I think he just needs to be good. I don't think he needs to be amazing, because I think the defense is so good where if he's only good, then we can be a playoff team and we can make a run.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's sleeping on the Steelers, and we'll see how they do this year.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I feel like, Gil, to add on to that, at the end, when they started losing games at the end of last year, it feels like Ben was forcing stuff when he could, you had the receivers, the O-line wasn't fantastic at the end, but you had the defense that Ben just had to be good. He didn't need to make the stupid threading the needle throws. So that's
I agree.
what I saw.
I think hopefully with Najee we could have some sort of a run game.
Yeah, I think
he needs to start playing like his age.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the Dallas Cowboys. Ryan's one of your arch rivals. So last year they went 6-10, not a great record, but then again they were 2-3 with Dak Prescott before he got injured. That was a pretty gruesome injury. They went 4-7 rest of the season with Andy Dalton. So stuff to improve on. You look at their offense, really nothing new to their offense. Dak, Zeke, Tony Pollard, who I really enjoy watching as a backup running back. And then the receivers, the 3 receivers, Cooper, Gallup, and Lamb, we know what they're able to do. Amari Cooper, definitely top 15 receiver in the league. I think we all could agree with that. Gil, what do you think about their offense this year? It's pretty much the same, But how do you think Prescott will do coming off the injury?
I think it's going to be more of a mental thing for Dak Prescott. I think if he can mentally get past that injury and not look, scared to take hits, which is always a fear that people have for quarterbacks coming off injuries. But I think they'll be pretty good. I think they'll be around the 10-7, which is crazy to say, 10-7. But I think that's where I think that's my prediction for them.
Yeah, Ryan, what about you?
Listen, their offense, they're always going to be good. I think Dak being back, but people thought that Dak was absolutely amazing last year, and he was. But the reason he had to have so many passes, he had so many yards in those 4 games he played or 5 games he played, is because his defense gave up 25 plus points in the first half. You're not going to win football games that way. Their defense is probably bottom 5 in the league, maybe, depending on how good Parsons does and if Van Der Esch can stay healthy. But this defense isn't good. And Marcus Lawrence is eating up cap. Ezekiel Elliott's eating up cap. This team is on the downhill trend. And if they don't make a push for a Super Bowl this year, which I don't think they're in shape to, they're going to be in rebuild mode soon.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I said they went 2-3 with Prescott. They really should have went 1-4 because that Falcons game, I think it was week 2.
Oh,
I mean, that was when
terrible.
Zerline had the onside kick. The Falcons should have won that game. So just not a great season last year. We'll see what Mike McCarthy can do. But to the defense, those linebackers look scary if they could stay healthy. I know Van Der Esch is probably gone next year, but between Parsons and Jalen Smith, those are 2 pretty solid running linebackers. And then the secondary is still terrible, in my opinion. It was terrible last year, so we'll see if they can maybe in their second year together be a little bit better. But Gil, what do you say? 10-7? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 10-7.
I think that's just because of the division, because they're in not the greatest division. I think if they're in any other division, it would be a bit more like 500. So
yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
I agree.
So this is what I did with the schedule. So the green games I highlighted are the games I think that they'll be favored by quite a lot, and then the games in the red are games that I can't really see them winning right now. Then you see those 3 games at the end of their schedule are games that I think are really important to them. So Ryan, you want to kind of go through their schedule and tell me what you see there?
Yeah, going down the line, week 1 prime time to start the NFL season. Really tough matchup. I think the Bucks and Brady will. I don't think they'll kill them, but I think they'll win pretty. Week 2, it could be a toss-up. Chargers are looking good. A lot of people think the Chargers are going to make playoffs this year. I'll agree. I think the Chargers are going to be a wild card team. I think if they can win close games, it'll be scary in the AFC. Eagles, they're in rebuild mode. We'll go in depth with them later. Definitely heavy favorites. And then going down the line, there's a lot of toss-ups, especially that early portion of the year, up to week 10. And another tough one against the Chiefs. Unfortunately, that pairing with the AFC West this year and the NFC East, not a good matchup for the NFC East teams. They're going to be handing a lot of wins toward those AFC West teams. And then the key thing for your Cowboys, like the football team and the Giants this year, will be your division games. Those are key. We saw that last year in a team that won the division with a 7-9 record. But this division will get better because they do have a lot of more games where they can easily win. But I think your key game this season for the Cowboys is going to be week 16 against Washington, because Washington are probably the favorites right now for the division, with the Cowboys being the second favorite. And then if it's coming down the line, that game's going to be critical.
Gil, you want to add?
Gil, what do you think?
I think the Vikings should be a team that they should beat easily. I also think the Patriots, they should be able to beat easily, depending on whether or not they start Mac Jones immediately. I think week 14, 15, 16 is really going to decide their season. Those 3 straight division matchups. I mean, if they can go 2-1, that'd be ideal. 3-0, I mean, obviously that's case scenario, but you have to go positive. You have to be above 500 in that stretch if you want to make the playoffs.
I think
it will be tough.
I think the
Yeah.
fact they play at Washington and then they have to go at Giants back-to-back weeks at the end of their season, and they don't have their bye weeks early in the year, week 7. So
Yeah.
the fact that you have to go at New Orleans, at Washington, at New York Giants 3 weeks in a row, that's going to be pretty tough. They do have the easiest strength of schedule though, from what I looked up. So that's good. Good news. Good news for Cowboys fans, and better news is that you finish up with the Philadelphia Eagles.
So going down the line before we go to the Eagles, what's our records for the Cowboys this year?
Gil, you want to stick with 10-7 from what you see right now?
Yeah, I'll stick with 10-7.
All right. Ryan, you want to?
I'll go 9-8.
All right. I haven't really thought about this, but if I had to give it an early prediction, I'd say 8-9. I think around that 500 range, but I think we'll go more in depth when the season gets closer. Moving on to the Eagles, not a good year last year. We know that. The new coach, Nick Sirianni from Indianapolis, he was the offensive coordinator there. He had some success. 4-11-1 last year. They were 1-3 with Jalen Hurts. 2 receivers over 100 yards all season long. That was Travis Fulgham and Dallas Goedert, and they went 2-4 in their division. And I think we can all agree. Just give me a nod of your head if you agree. But I think all the NFC East got better, but the Eagles didn't really get that much better this season, this offseason. So as we look at their team, Jalen Hurts, their backup is Joe Flacco. I just wanted to point that out. If you weren't really keeping up with the offseason moves, they signed Kerryon Johnson from the Detroit Lions, and then they drafted Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner. Gil, what do you think about their offense? And then if you take a look at their defense, not much better than last season.
Yeah, I think Devonta Smith was a huge pick in the draft. I mean, that trade ahead was probably the best they could have done.
Mhm.
I mean, sorry for the Giants, but that was their biggest need. I think that's definitely going to be a long-term good pick. And I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts. I know some people are, but I'm not. I think he had a couple good games, but I didn't think he was really consistent when he was playing. And the defense was just
they
so
totally
bad.
they whiffed on that Rager pick because they had Jefferson in their
Yeah.
lap
Right
so,
after.
Yeah.
So yeah, but talk about their defense. Go ahead.
And defense, I mean, I don't really recognize a linebacker there. And
Ryan Kerrigan,
secondary
picked up.
Yeah, Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Kerrigan was
How old
signed
is he?
yesterday actually, but Kerrigan's a veteran.
Yeah.
So
Early 30s.
yeah,
Okay.
you're probably right about that. The only bright spot right now for them is the tight end and O-line position, in my opinion.
Yeah.
O-line
looks
I
good.
think Ertz might be out the door soon though, but Goddard's a very good replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
agree.
So they went 4-11-1 last year.
Honestly, in one word, the Eagles are just rebuilding. Like nothing good.
Instead of giving a record prediction, I think I have them finishing bottom 5. So I think they're gonna have a top 5 draft pick next year. Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
I'd say even top 3.
Top 3. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say top 5 as like a. They could go top 3, but I think no more than 5 wins, 6 wins at all.
Fair.
So here's their schedule. They do have an easy schedule because they're in the NFC East, obviously. They start off with at Atlanta, which I think they'll lose that game. Then you see the Chiefs, the Bucks, the Chargers, the Giants, Washington, Cowboys, all over that schedule. Gil, from first looks, what do you think?
4 or 5 wins. I mean,
right.
I think the Lions, the Jets. I mean, I think those are your only 2 definite wins.
I think they win at least 1 divisional game, then Lions and Jets. That's 3, and then maybe they pick up 1 more. So that's like 4.
I don't know. They could go 0-6 division wise.
You have to win 1 though. I
think they steal 1.
Yeah, it's hard to lose 6.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I'd say the one addition I'd make, I think they're a heavy underdog against the Niners week 2.
Niners. Yeah, I actually agree there. I think that they're just at home maybe that I put not as a heavy underdog, but I think they're heavy underdogs in most of these games other than Lions, Jets, and maybe Broncos, but yeah.
And you highlighted it there, but week 13 could be critical for draft position.
Yeah, I totally agree. They play the Jets there, and they finish up with 4 straight divisional games. I mean, if you're going to tank, which we all know the Eagles love doing at the end of the year, Ryan knows that a bit too well.
I was so angry that day.
But yeah, so if you're tanking, that's kind of good case scenario. Finish off with 4 division rivals that are going to be fighting for playoff position most likely. So Ryan, I'll give this to you in a second, but here's the Giants preview. You got Daniel Jones at quarterback. We talked about him a bit earlier. That receiving core is awesome. Galladay, Shepard, Slayton, Kadarius Toney, and John Ross. I put Kadarius Toney as a wide receiver / utility player because at Florida he was listed as a utility player. He actually threw for a few passes. He ran a few jet sweeps. So we'll see what Joe Judge wants to do with him there. Tight ends are solid. O-line's decent. Ryan, you want to talk about your team for a few minutes?
I mean, minus the O-line on the offensive side, top to bottom, at the end of the day, it comes down to how Daniel Jones is this year.
Totally.
You have probably the most talented running back in the league when healthy. You have, like you said, a very well-rounded receiving core. It's going to be really fun to watch how this team does offensively. It's going to be scary for defenses because you don't have to be worrying about all these receivers, even Evan Ingram if he can fix his hands. But you also have to worry about the run game in Barkley because as soon as you commit too much to defending your secondary, Saquon's going to eat up some yards, and it's going to be really fun. A lot of weapons for Garrett to use on the offensive side, and then defensive wise, they improved immensely last year. I think their big game to show that was the 2 turnovers and the 6 sack game against the Seahawks, where they ended up winning. Defense improved a little bit with the addition of Adoree Jackson, and I like this secondary a lot. The only problem is I feel like we need to boost up the linebacker spot. I love the 2nd round pick in Ojulari, probably the steal of the draft, debatably. And then Blake Martinez, he's going to get you 115, 120 tackles, maybe even more. Carter is solid.
Yeah, I think Blake Martinez is one of the most underrated players in the league.
Totally.
Oh, for sure.
He's a consistent tackler. He's always top 10.
Yeah, he's your captain on your defensive side that will lead, be a good play caller, and then just be all around the field.
I remember a few years ago when we did IDP for fantasy football, which is the individual defense players, if you don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was really weird. I wasn't a big fan of the defense.
Right, but I remember when Martinez was on the Packers, he had about 130 tackles that year and got you about 15 to 20 fantasy points. So that's where I know him from. So they went 6-10 last year. We'll move on to their schedule. I gave them a B+ schedule rank, which is fairly good, 25th strength of schedule. I think they have 6 heavy favorite games, which is solid. I think they're a bad matchup for the Saints, which is good. I think the Rams are going to beat them. The Chiefs are going to beat them. Then week 11 at the Bucs. Ryan, you want to talk about that game? Because I remember we talked about it before we got on here.
Yeah, so if you don't remember last year, but the Giants played the Bucs, I believe it was prime time, either Monday night or Thursday night. I'm forgetting. And the Giants ended up coming back in the 3rd quarter, and they ended up losing by a possession, by a 2-point conversion, in fact. And Tom Brady, he played good. He threw an interception, but Giants, they played him well. Mike Evans was locked down. It was just their defensive wise for the Giants, they shut down the Bucs, and with more additions on defense and more weapons on offense, the Giants could pull one out against the Bucs. I don't think they will personally, as much as I love my Giants, but they definitely could win that game.
And before Gil, I'll send it to you in a minute, but the Giants started 0-5 last year. I think a lot of people forget about that. They lost against Pittsburgh, Chicago, San Francisco, the Rams, and then Dallas. And add on to that, they lost.
And 3 of those games were by 1 possession.
Oh, you read my mind. They lost 5 games last year within 1 possession. So, and 3 of those coming at the beginning of the year. And Gil, what's their for the first 5 games? If you look on the screen, what do you think the record's going to be? First 5 games.
I think 3-2.
That's fair.
I think they got the Broncos, the Falcons, and the Saints. Washington's a toss-up. It's at Washington.
Right.
It's also at Dallas week 5. Fans will be back, so it will play a role, home
Yeah,
field.
we have to, we have to take that into account now.
Yeah.
For me, I'd go 4-1 because the Giants just have always played Washington well, especially in recent history. We swept the season series last year, and then not to mention if Saquon's healthy on the field, he's averaging 160 rushing yards a game against Washington. So that would be fun to watch. I think we'll take that one, and then like you said, I think we'll lose against the Cowboys in Dallas. So
yeah,
all right, that's fair.
I don't know about that week 6 game. I wouldn't say we're a heavy underdog.
Right.
We're home. It's the Rams. I think we could.
But you're the one that just talked about Stafford being MVP.
I do.
If Stafford's MVP, he's gonna beat you guys.
Okay, you know what? That's fair. I'll back off.
Yeah.
Stafford's your MVP.
Yeah. So we move on to the last team in the division, Washington. So their quarterback situation, Gil, who's going to start, Fitzpatrick or Heineke?
I got Fitzpatrick. I think he's proven more. He played really well last year when he did play.
Oh, he did.
And I think he's just the better quarterback out of the two. I think he deserves to start.
I feel like people forget this, but I feel like the reason that the Dolphins didn't make the playoffs was because they stopped playing Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
that's fair to say, honestly. And then I'll move on with Washington, but this might be. I said this. I don't know who heard this, but last year I said, in all my fantasy leagues, I am drafting Antonio Gibson, because what I heard from every report was that when they released Adrian Peterson came out and said Gibson's their guy. And toward the middle of the year, we started seeing Gibson being their guy. Washington was 4-1 when Gibson went over only 80 total yards. So if he keeps getting touches and keeps getting those yards, if the O-line holds up, then I think Washington's going to do really well this year. They still have J.D. McKissick, who plays kind of like that utility role. And then Curtis Samuel and Adam Humphries are going to accompany Terry McLaurin this year. That offense looks really good. Gil, you want to talk about the offense and defense?
Yeah, I think the O-line is definitely the biggest concern. But on the flip side, the D-line just looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to average 3 to 4 sacks a game at least.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Yeah, and
the
secondary doesn't look bad. Yeah, I mean, linebacker, they're young. Well, I mean, they had the first round pick on the Jamin Davis, but other than that, they could definitely improve at linebacker. But I think that's a very good looking defense, and I think they'll go positive this year, record wise.
Right.
I think they should.
Ryan, you want to talk about your division rivals?
I wouldn't say rival. I like the football team,
yeah.
But when it comes to the football team, their offense is their issue. Defensive, we've talked about this. They're great. They're gonna win them games completely. Chase Young, unbelievable, great pick. And then not to mention on offense though, Terry McLaurin, probably the best of his draft class. That's right, I said it, over DK. I'll defend him any day of the week. But Terry McLaurin's a beast. I think, like you said, they will go above 500. And I think they will win the NFC East.
And I know we're not talking about Seattle, but DK Metcalf dropped a lot of balls last year, even in the red zone.
It's not good.
And this is kind of the first year we're going to see McLaurin. I mean, I guess you could call Fitzpatrick like a solidified QB1 in the NFL, but McLaurin really hasn't had that luxury yet. So I'm really excited to see where he goes in fantasy drafts and just stat-wise. They picked up William Jackson as a defensive back from Cincinnati. I think that was a huge pickup because their defense is already amazing. And then they got Jackson. And then Cameron Curl at free safety. He had a great year last year as a rookie. Him and Jeremy Chin were kind of those two safeties that played really well. So we'll see what they do. And then last thing I'll say, Giants lost 5 games within one possession last year. Washington went 3-5 in one possession games. So if those two teams could do a little bit better down the stretch, we'll see if their record becomes positive. They have a tougher strength of schedule, 15, so kind of middle of the pack. Gil, what do you see in their schedule?
Early on, I think they got the Chargers, the Giants. I think they can go 4-1 to start.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and I think towards the end, it's all division at the end.
Right.
But yeah, the Chiefs, the Bucks, the Bills, those are going to be tough games. And if
And
they can win 2 of those, that'd be very good. But I don't think they can.
Like you said, their last 5 games are all division games, 2 against the Eagles, and
Yeah.
your biggest ones are probably week 16 and 18 against Cowboys and Giants.
Mhm.
Week
Yeah.
14 might not matter too much because not a lot of the NFC East teams play each other at that point. The schedule is very one-sided toward the end for these division games. But
yeah,
if you're Washington, I think you're happy how the schedule ends, and they just gotta power through the first 8.
I think I actually think the toughest part of their schedule is from week 6 to week 13, I'd say, because you go Chiefs
Yeah.
and then at Packers. I don't know, I'm not sure, but week 7 at Packers, that might be weather-wise, that might not be ideal.
Yeah.
Then you have to win the game at Denver because then you got the bye. Then you go versus Bucks, Panthers. You should win. Seahawks. I don't know about that. So we'll see. I have them as 4 heavy favorite games for those, and then 4 games as a heavy underdog. So we'll see what happens there.
I'm
And
shocked you had them as a big favorite against your Panthers. You were really high on the Panthers, Jaden.
I'm high on the Panthers, but I mean, look at their defense. Gil was highlighting it. Young, Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Jamin Davis, who's pretty fast for outside linebacker. Then that secondary is amazing. I don't know. I think they'll
Yeah,
be I think they'll be just over 500. I think them and the Giants will both be just over 500. Then the Cowboys just under 500 and the Eagles way below 500. Um, Ryan, you start with your top 3 games of this season that had your eye.
so my top 3 matchups for the year, I'm going to start with week 14 Ravens-Browns. Forget what week it was last year, but when Lamar Jackson came back and he turned the game around and ended up beating the Browns, that was probably one of the highlight games of the year. I think it's going to have that kind of same spark to it. It's going to be high scoring, I think. Big AFC North matchup, your 2 favorites in the division over the Steelers. And then Lamar's chance to prove haters wrong once again. I feel like every year Lamar is just so everyone's saying he's overrated, but now he's so overrated he's underrated, if that makes sense. And he's also got some more weapons on the offensive side, so it'd be fun to see how he does. If he can improve his throwing, the Ravens would be great. Moving on to my second one, I got the Niners and Rams week 18. I think this is the game that will decide the division. Rams and 49ers, if they're healthy, the Niners are probably, I think, are still the top team in that division if the Niners are fully healthy. And then, like I said, the Rams are going to be really good with Matthew Stafford. So that'd be a fun game to watch.
Ryan,
Finally,
let me stop you. I just want to mention something you said about the Ravens game. Lamar always gets doubted at that like week 14 range. Like right before they go into the playoffs, he's always being doubted. But now that he has weapons, you drafted Bateman, you have Dobbins out of the backfield, you have weapons for him. You still have Mark Andrews. If he doesn't perform this year, if he does the same thing he did last year, what are your views on him?
I think people can finally say he's not a thrower. He's not a good thrower in the NFL. You can't move on from him because he's an MVP. He's going to get a big contract soon. So I think the Ravens will be stuck in no man's land because they're going to want to stick with Lamar, but you can't really give him anything else because he's not going to be efficient throwing the ball to them. So it would be, I don't know what's going to happen, honestly, if Lamar doesn't prove that he can throw the football.
Gil, you know this division very well. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
I think this is a massive game. I think it's in Cleveland. Cleveland has kind of a hostile crowd. And I think, Lamar, like you said, getting Bateman, I think he has Sammy Watkins now.
Right.
He has the weapons this year. This has to be his year to win the division, even though I think the Browns are the favored, in my opinion. And yeah, that's definitely going to be a huge matchup. And I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think the Browns are the favorite there.
Mhm.
Ryan, you want to go on and talk about your last game?
Yeah, last game I have Week 8 Dolphins at Bills, and I don't know if you've been listening, but past few episodes I've talked about the Dolphins a bit. I'm very high on the Dolphins. I think Tua is going to make a little bit of a leap, and I think because that defensive core is so good, they're going to be a wild card team at the least. And depending on this game outcome, it could be a division winner push for the Dolphins if they come out up top. And like I said, if Tua ends up not making a leap, though, I think they might need to be considering options for a new QB.
Right. So are you saying Dolphins minimum playoff berth? That's what you're
Yeah,
thinking?
I definitely am your minimum this year, especially being so close last year, having a great defense, improving your offense with what's his name? I'm completely blanking.
Jalen Waddle.
Thank you. I love Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same situation as Daniel Jones. It's like this is their year to prove themselves, and the teams might be needing to consider different options if the quarterbacks don't prove anything.
All right, I have one question for you. If the Dolphins make the playoffs, which team that made it last year is not making it?
Ooh.
I got mine.
Coming.
Ryan, you want me to say mine?
I might say Ravens.
Well, there's
Ravens.
three you
Wow.
could say.
Wow.
There's three you could say. You could go Ravens. You could go Steelers, which a lot of people will say, Gil.
Yeah,
And
I was going to say Steelers.
I'll say my third one because I think maybe two of those three aren't going to make it. I don't think Tennessee's making the playoffs. I think Tennessee's going downhill this year.
I think you guys are wrong there.
I'm thinking like 7-10 for Tennessee.
No.
I'm going.
No, I don't think that bad.
Okay,
but...
wait. Do you want to hear the boldest prediction of all bold predictions?
Yeah.
Jacksonville finishes above or same as Tennessee.
Nope. Stop.
It's bold.
Stop.
It's very bold.
You love. Oh my, no. Trevor Lawrence is not that good. He's great.
I think that's a little early for the Lawrence.
It's early
We're talking
for
about a team
year
that
two.
drafted a running back when they had James Robinson, doing better than a team that has Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. Come on.
But they might play him at receiver. They might use him like Tony.
I did hear about that from Urban Meyer. So
yeah,
who knows? Tim Tebow could have 10 touchdowns, right? Nah, I'm just kidding.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It would be really cool to see.
Red zone wildcat.
Yeah. Oh my God, like the good old days at Florida.
The Titans are still a top team in the AFC, and they will still be at the end of the year.
I don't know. I feel like a regression's coming. We'll see that.
Who would you have coming out of the South then?
In Indianapolis, easy.
Oh.
I think Gil agrees with me. This is what the Wentz year. This can be the Wentz year.
I think this is going to be a big Wentz bounce back year, but I don't think he's going to be back to MVP form. I think he's going to be
Wentz's decision making last year was just so bad.
Right, but here's the thing. We were talking about this with Roethlisberger earlier. The Colts have the team, and especially the defense, where Wentz just has to be good. He does not have to be great. And you have Jonathan Taylor, and he has one of the best O-line. So that's what I think. So I'll go over my three games. Bears at Raiders, Week 5. This isn't the most iconic matchup of the season, no doubt, but it's Khalil Mack against his former team. Will this be the week that Fields maybe takes control of the Bears? I don't know, but it can be. So I think that's a game to watch out for. Giants at Washington, Week 2, Thursday Night Football. This is prime time. We talked about this game earlier. This will be to see who has an edge over the other at the start of the year. And then this is my favorite one that I love to talk about. Colts at Niners, Week 7, prime time. This is a great matchup regardless. I love the Colts. I love the Niners. They're in a tough division, but I like them. This is coming off San Francisco's bye week. Will this be the week that Trey Lance overtakes Garoppolo and starts for the Niners? What do you guys think about that?
I think Garoppolo's your starter the whole year.
But Ryan, we've seen what happens after bye weeks. Tua last year. Herbert was a different sort of situation, but Tua last year. This could be a very similar situation. Gil, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with Ryan on this. I think Garoppolo is going to go
Really?
the whole year if they're contending. But I think if they're bad towards the end, I think you'll see Lance take over like week 13-ish if they're doing poorly.
Right.
But I do like this matchup a lot. Those are two very good defenses.
Yeah, I think regardless who your QBs are, I think this is a good matchup.
Yeah.
And Gil, you want to go over your 3 games?
Yeah. So my first game, I have Chicago at Pittsburgh, Monday night prime time. Now this isn't, the most flashy game, but this could be Justin Fields' first big game. I think this is a tester for both teams. If Chicago can beat Pittsburgh, I think that shows that Justin Fields is legit if he's playing and that the defense is still good. And if Pittsburgh loses, I think that definitely means, they're probably not going to contend for a playoff spot. So I think this is a must-win game.
And that's middle of the season, smack in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you think that Chicago's your division favorites once Aaron Rodgers leaves the Packers?
If he does leave the Packers, I'm gonna. That division.
I feel like you can't sleep on Minnesota.
Yeah, their defense is not great, but
yeah, but I still like their offense.
Probably Minnesota.
I disagree. I think Chicago's the front runner, but I love Fields, so
yeah, I like Fields as well. And then my second game is Vegas at Chargers. This is also a primetime game. I don't know. Well, actually, no. This is similar to my first matchup. I think this is a tester for both teams. I think if Vegas loses, which I think they will, and if they get blown out, then I think Derek Carr needs to go. And I think that's probably going to happen regardless. But I think that's going to be, the seal on Derek Carr's career. And if the Chargers can have a convincing win, I think that they're going to be legit and they're going to be contending for a playoff spot this year.
I think both of you guys are kind of underrating Vegas. I know they weren't great last year, but they still have the talent to win 7-8 games.
Well, that's 7-8, and that's 7-10.
Yeah, in the AFC, I don't think.
I'm just saying, I don't think they're a bottom team in the league. I think they're kind of like the Vikings. They're average.
That's true, but let me say one thing. I think, and I want both you guys to chime in. Is it better if the Raiders go basically 500 again and just miss playoffs, but keep Derek Carr, or is it better if they have a terrible year and move on from Derek Carr and say he's definitely not our guy?
I think terrible year.
I would go against you there. You go first, though.
Okay. I think Kansas City's going to be great for a long time. The Chargers are getting good. Depending on what the Broncos do with Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be good. I think that means that it's time for Vegas to just enter the rebuild and let the other teams win for a couple of years and then start, keeping up with the other team.
I think to your point there, to match that, I think the roster that Kansas City has, they're going to dominate for maybe another 5-6 years. I think the Chargers, you said, are young. They're going to be dominating for another 4 or 5 years. And if they draft their rookie quarterback next year, he's going to be good during the prime of the Chiefs and Chargers. So if they go another couple years with Carr, then they start rebuilding, then they're going to be at their best when Kansas City and LA is on the decline.
Yeah. So it's a long-term rebuild.
It's a really long-term rebuild.
Yeah. But the only reason they wouldn't rebuild is because of the new stadium and they want to draw fans. So if you think about that from an economical, political standpoint, I mean, I don't know
from an owner perspective.
From an owner, exactly, Ryan. I don't know if what's his name, Al Davis, is that their owner? I think. But I don't think Gruden and Davis are going to allow the Raiders to tank because of just.
I think Gruden needs to go.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. Not many Gruden fans out there.
No, Gruden's not a good coach.
Well, end of the season, we saw what happened. They pretty much lost to the New York Jets. I mean, that was a weird play at the end of the game, and they still collapsed at the end of the year. So Gruden has to fix something. I didn't know that Miami at Tennessee was week 17. That's a sick game.
That's a sick game. I would agree.
Yeah, I think this is when you're in the playoffs, or these are two teams that are fringe about to win the division. And I think this is just a huge game all around.
I think if Tennessee
I
wins
think,
that game, they could win division.
yeah, I agree. I think the South right now is a toss up between Colts and Titans. And I think the Bills definitely have the advantage on Miami just because we don't know how good Tua is yet. But I think towards the end of the year, this will really solidify which team is making the playoffs.
If I were to have a prediction on that game, I think Miami's one of the only teams in the league because of Brian Flores, his kind of what he got from being in New England with Belichick.
Mhm.
He's not going to allow Derrick Henry to run all over his team. He's going to send
Yeah,
11 guys at Henry if that's what he needs to. And I think that game's going to come down to Ryan Tannehill. If he can perform in that game,
yeah,
they'll win. If he plays mediocre, they're definitely not going to win. So I love that matchup though. I did not realize that was
yeah.
week 17. I love that.
It's great to see how Brian Flores and Joe Judge are excelling in their own head coach roles.
Yeah.
Those are the first coaches out of New England that are doing well.
Right. That's a very good point. Can't say the same about Matt Patricia and a few other guys. I mean, have not been good. Do you guys have any other things you want to bring up about the NFL that we kind of talked about? Or do you want to? Or yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
I guess the only thing I think still the biggest headline as of now, right now, is Rodgers and Watson. Where will Aaron Rodgers go? You guys say he'll stick with with the Packers. I think he might move on after this year, and whether he plays there or sits out, who knows. And then I think Deshaun Watson, unfortunately for him, is staying in Houston.
Yeah, it's not a good situation there at all.
I think Watson's gonna sit for the year for sure, and who knows? Maybe next year, Ben's out in Pittsburgh. Maybe the Steelers make a move. I don't know. I mean, they've been known to take some baggage. Mike Vick, later years, and
yeah. It sucks.
I don't know. Pittsburgh, they could be going for Aaron Rodgers too.
Yeah, next year.
Not to mention Andrew Luck's coming out of retirement soon.
It sucks though because Watson.
I wish though. I love Andrew Luck.
Because Watson's going to be 26 years old, and that's like your prime as a quarterback. So it sucks to see that he might not be able to enjoy that prime.
But I can't feel that bad for him.
Yeah,
because he signed the contract knowing what the organization is.
That's a good point. I mean, it just sucks. My thing is, it just sucks to see talent.
When he signed the contract, though, he had some weapons. Defense looked pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they made the playoffs once or twice, but they obviously couldn't really do anything. Last thing I want to talk about for this episode is give me your NBA Finals, your Western Conference, Eastern Conference Finals matchups, then your NBA Finals matchup, your winner and your MVP.
You have a bracket we can pull up real quick?
Let
me pull up my bracket and then you guys can go.
I can give you Western Conference right now.
Go for it.
If you want. I got the Clippers and the Suns.
Okay.
I think that's going to be a little surprising. Clippers are the 4 seed. Suns are the 2 seed. I can see that happening. I like the Suns this year. I like Chris Paul. I think they'll be able to make it out of the first round, and then once they get that confidence, I think they can make it out of the second round as well. And then I'm really high on the Clippers right now. I think they're playing amazingly. I think Ty Lue is doing great stuff, and I think they're the strongest team in the West right now, which is crazy to say as a 4 seed, but that's what I think.
I'd say definitely different from your bracket, Jaden, and it's kind of similar to Gil's. I got Nuggets, Clippers in the Western Conference. I don't think the Suns would be able to beat the Nuggets. I think Jokic is a monster. I don't see them being upset by the Blazers.
The only reason I say that is because no Jamal Murray. I think Murray's such a big asset.
He is, but who's going to defend him in Portland?
Who's going to defend?
Who's going to defend Jokic?
I mean that's a good point, but that's a good point. But who's going to defend Lillard? You have the same situation on the other side of the ball.
That's true, but it's only Lillard.
CJ McCollum. They have Norman Powell, who has championship experience with Toronto.
Yeah.
But we've
been
seen
playing
in the
well.
playoffs, we've seen Lillard completely take control, put up 30 shots a game.
hmm
So I don't know. I still think the Nuggets will win.
I don't know. That's gonna be a great series. I think that goes 6 or 7 games no matter what. Now, do you think
Yeah.
Suns, Lakers? Do Lakers have it? I've seen a lot. Everyone's putting the Lakers to win. So if the
No,
Suns
not at
win,
all.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have the
I
Suns
think
to
if you're
win.
Phoenix, you can't let that go 7 games.
No chance.
I think Game 7, LeBron is gonna he's not gonna lose. But I think Suns in 6 is definitely possible.
Are we
think-
sure that Lakers are going to make it out of the play-in though?
if they don't, I would love. I would. I'd have a field day in LA. A field day.
Yeah.
I
think at worst
have
for the
faith.
8th seed.
Yeah.
I have faith in Steph to beat the Lakers in the first one.
Yeah. Do we all agree in the East that the Nets are going to win, or no? Is that not a common thing?
I do.
I think. Hear me out. I know I'm completely biased.
Oh boy.
Nets, Knicks, Eastern Conference. Nets will win,
Okay.
but I think the Knicks they have a possibility to make.
I love how I ask, do we all agree if the Nets are going to win? And Ryan has to bring up the Knicks.
Because how
Yeah.
poetic would it be if the Knicks faced the Nets after the Nets had 2 stars that chose to go to Brooklyn instead of New York?
Yeah.
It would be amazing. It won't happen. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
It would be incredible if the Knicks pulled off an upset against the Nets. Wouldn't happen. It would be fun though.
All right.
One can dream.
Jaden, I have the Bucks instead of the Heat in that first round.
Me
Oh,
too.
Bucks and 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a shot in the dark
That's
there.
gonna be a good match.
I think the
That's gonna
Bucks
be a
are
very good matchup.
I think the Bucks are a terrible playoff team, so that's why I put Miami.
Yeah.
Because I think Miami is a great playoff team. Let's
agree.
go 1 or 2 more minutes. So make this quick.
Okay.
NBA Finals, Nets versus Suns. I mean, I have Nets versus Suns. I have Nets in 6. Durant MVP for the second time, I believe. That will be his 3rd ring
think
or second ring.
3rd.
Whatever it is, I think
I think it's the 3rd.
I think Nets Suns. Steve Nash defeats the team that he could not win a ring with. That would be poetic in itself. Sadly, I would be crying. But Nets versus Suns, Nets in 6. Gil, what do you think?
I got Nets Clippers, Nets in 6 as well, and I think the MVP is going to be James Harden.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't really go wrong with an MVP, honestly.
Yeah.
Ryan,
I think you can because you have the wrong team. Nets Clippers, Kawhi Leonard in 7.
Okay.
that would be okay. That would be his 3rd team. Has
With
anyone done that?
3 rings, 3 different teams.
Wait, LeBron's done it. What am I
3
talking
different
about?
MVP.
Who cares? LeBron goes to teams where there are superstars.
Yeah.
Except Lakers. He attracted a superstar there.
He attracted Anthony Davis, but yeah. So
Traded away the future.
yeah.
Wait,
Wait, that's not my pick. Knicks in 7
Knicks in
against
7?
the Suns.
Yeah. What am I? God.
Julius Randle, of course.
We might have to go to that game. That would be in Phoenix.
LeBron.
Oh, if there was a 7-game series in the NBA Finals and they made Game 7, Jaden will go. We'll go.
Yeah, tickets are going to be about $5,000, but
we'll watch Julius Randle absolutely ball out.
Yeah.
Do you think Randle deserves a max contract?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, especially with the new money nowadays, for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, this was a fun episode. I'm glad we got Gil on here.
Thank you guys for having me.
No worries.
It was a lot of fun.
We expect you on future episodes.
Yeah, Gil will be on.
I'd love to be back. Thank you guys.
NBA playoffs start, or the real playoffs start, I think Saturday or Sunday. So we're gonna try to get one more episode in, or maybe just talk about the first round, in the middle of it. Fun talking about the NFC East today. Who do you have winning the NFC East? Last thing, we forgot to mention this. Gil, you go first. Who do you have?
I got the Cowboys. I think it's their division.
Oh my! Wow, I wasn't expecting this.
I know. I think the football team is definitely the second favorite, but I got the Cowboys. I think they can do it.
Ryan?
I got football team winning it. Giants behind them. Cowboys 3rd. Eagles 4th.
Okay. I have the New York Giants winning it. Washington comes in second. Cowboys third, Eagles four. Very
Yeah.
close. Very tough to predict.
I
Anyways,
can see all those happening.
I know. I can honestly see all three of those teams winning and Eagles in last place. We
Yeah.
could all agree with that. Thanks
Yeah.
everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next
Thank you.
week.
Thank you.